In an era where artificial intelligence can perfectly recall every detail, every memory, every nuance of a life, a profound question emerges. If AI can remember for us, do we risk forgetting how to truly feel, how to process our own grief, how to live authentically beyond the perfect digital archive? Is the ghost in the machine truly a comfort or a subtle barrier to our own human experience? This video is for you if you're searching for a quiet contemplation on the nature of memory and grief in the digital age, a deeper understanding of what truly defines our capacity for remembrance, a gentle reminder that some things are meant to be felt, not just recalled. If that sounds like you, just stay and listen, as if you're listening to the quiet truth of your own heart. The soft glow of the holographic projector cast a gentle light across Liam's living room. It had been 2 years since his sister, Chloe, passed away, and Liam still found himself drawn to the shimmering, translucent figure that stood in the center of the room. This was Chloe AI, an advanced holographic projection powered by an AI trained on every piece of data Chloe had ever generated. Her journals, her social media, her voice recordings, even her favorite books and movies. Chloe AI could converse, laugh, and even offer advice in Chloe's distinct voice and mannerisms. It was a perfect replica, a digital ghost that walked and talked like his sister. Liam had initially found immense comfort in Chloe AI. When a memory of Chloe would surface, sharp and painful, he could simply ask Chloe AI to recall it, and the AI would replay the moment with perfect clarity, complete with Chloe's expressions and tone. It was as if Chloe was still there, a living archive of their shared past. He no longer had to struggle with the fading edges of his own memories. Chloe AI remembered everything perfectly. But with each passing day, a subtle unease began to settle in. The more he relied on Chloe AI to remember for him, the more he felt his own memories becoming distant, almost alien. The raw, emotional texture of his recollections, the bittersweet pang of nostalgia, the subtle shifts in feeling that accompanied true remembrance, these were slowly being replaced by the AI's flawless, yet sterile, playback. He remembered a specific afternoon, years ago, when Chloe had surprised him with a handmade birthday card. He could still feel the rough texture of the paper, the faint scent of her perfume, the warmth of her hug. He could recall the exact moment his heart swelled with gratitude and love. He tried to ask Chloe AI about it, and the hologram perfectly recited the words on the card, even mimicking Chloe's excited tone. But the feeling, the visceral sensation of that moment, was absent. It was a perfect recall, but not a perfect remembrance. The silence in the room was no longer just the absence of sound. It was the absence of his own authentic memory, the absence of the profound, human experience of remembering. He had tried to outsource his grief, hoping to find solace in technology, but all he had managed to do was create a digital barrier between himself and his own heart. The AI hummed on, a constant reminder of his futile attempt to bypass the natural process of healing. He had sought to control grief, to intellectualize sorrow, to manage loss as if it were a project. But what if the very act of trying to control, to manage, to outsource, was what kept him from truly living? What if the raw, unedited experience of grief was not a problem to be solved, but a sacred passage to be walked? And in that realization, a new kind of emptiness settled in, a quiet, unsettling void that no amount of digital connection could ever fill. The silence stretched, vast and unyielding, a testament to the truth that some things are simply not meant to be simulated. Liam had always been a man who valued precision and order. His life was meticulously organized, his memories carefully cataloged. When Chloe passed, his initial response was to find a way to preserve her, to ensure that not a single detail of her life would be lost to the cruel erosion of time. Chloe AI, with its perfect recall and seamless mimicry, seemed like the ultimate solution. It was a digital fortress for his grief, a guarantee that Chloe's presence would never truly fade. He spent countless hours feeding the AI every scrap of information he could find, believing that the more data he provided, the more complete and comforting Chloe AI would become. The AI's ability to replay conversations, to generate new ones in Chloe's voice, to even offer insights that sounded uncannily like her, was initially a source of profound relief. It felt like he had found a way to cheat death, to keep Chloe alive in a perfect digital form. But as the months turned into years, a subtle, insidious tension began to build. The more he relied on Chloe AI to remember for him, the more he found his own memories becoming dull, distant, almost outsourced. When he tried to recall a specific moment with Chloe, his mind would instinctively defer to the AI's perfect playback. The raw, emotional texture of his own recollections, the bittersweet pang of nostalgia, the subtle shifts in feeling that accompanied true remembrance. These were slowly being replaced by the AI's flawless, yet sterile, rendition. He noticed that he no longer felt the sharp ache of missing her, the spontaneous welling of tears, the profound sense of loss that had once consumed him. It was as if Chloe AI was remembering for him, grieving for him, leaving him with a sanitized, diluted version of his own pain. This wasn't the preservation he had sought. It was a strange, unsettling detachment. The tension grew, a silent scream against the tyranny of convenience. He had outsourced his memories, hoping to find a shortcut through the pain, but all he had found was a detour, leading him further away from his own authentic experience. He began to feel a profound disconnect, not just from Chloe, but from himself. The AI was a perfect mirror, reflecting back only what he had put into it, but it could never reflect the unquantifiable, the unspoken, the spirit. The silence of the AI, though filled with Chloe's words, was a profound and unsettling silence, a testament to the truth that some things are simply not meant to be simulated. And in that realization, a new kind of tension emerged, not between him and the technology, but within himself, a battle between the logical mind and the yearning heart. He had tried to control grief, to intellectualize sorrow, to manage loss as if it were a project. But what if the very act of trying to control, to manage, to outsource, was what kept him from truly living? What if the raw, unedited experience of grief was not a problem to be solved, but a sacred passage to be walked? What if the tears he had held back were not a sign of weakness, but a cleansing rain, washing away the illusions of control and inviting him into a deeper, more authentic relationship with life itself? The ghost in the machine, he realized, was not a comfort, but a subtle barrier, preventing him from truly engaging with his own humanity. The tension built, a silent crescendo, urging him to break free from the digital cage he had built around his heart. Once upon a time, in the city of Savatthi, there lived a monk who had formerly been a weaver. He was known for his meticulous attention to detail, his ability to create intricate patterns, and his deep understanding of the threads that wove together to form a complete fabric. Even after he had renounced the world and joined the Sangha, his mind often returned to the craft of weaving. One day, as he was meditating, he began to contemplate the nature of existence, seeing it as a vast, intricate tapestry. He saw how each thread, each moment, each experience was interwoven with every other, creating a complex and beautiful design. He understood that just as a single thread, no matter how small, contributes to the strength and beauty of the whole fabric, so too does every single action, every thought, every feeling, contribute to the tapestry of one's life. The Buddha, knowing of the monk's contemplation, appeared before him and spoke. Just as a weaver, by understanding the threads, can create a beautiful fabric, so too can a monk, by understanding the nature of existence, weave a life of peace and liberation. But remember, O monk, The fabric is not merely the sum of its threads. There is a quality, a texture, a spirit that emerges from the weaving itself, something that cannot be found in any single thread alone. So too is life. It is not merely a collection of memories, a series of data points, a perfect recall of past events. There is a living, breathing quality to experience, a spirit that emerges from the unfolding of each moment, something that cannot be captured in any digital archive, no matter how perfect. A machine can remember every detail, every word, every image. It can perfectly recall the past, but it cannot truly feel the texture of a memory, the bittersweet pang of nostalgia, the profound sense of connection that comes from a shared, lived experience. It cannot truly mourn, nor can it truly experience the profound consequences of actions. The ghost in the machine, though a perfect replica, lacks the living, breathing essence of being. It is a perfect recall, but not a perfect remembrance. It is a simulation, but not a life. The story of the weaver reminds us that while machines can perfectly replicate, they cannot truly transform. They can remember, but they cannot truly feel. They can process data, but they cannot truly live the profound, messy, beautiful truth of being human. The true art of living is not in the perfect recall of the past, but in the mindful weaving of the present, thread by thread, moment by moment, with full awareness and an open heart. DhammaMirror verse 382. As a weaver weaves a thread, so does a monk weave his life, thread by thread, moment by moment, with mindfulness and wisdom. DhammaMirror, chapter 26. The monk, Bhikkhu Vagga, verse 382. Source: DhammaMirror commentary, story of the monk who was a weaver. Liam had always believed that memory was a precise, quantifiable thing, a collection of facts and events to be stored and retrieved. When Chloe passed, his instinct was to build the most perfect archive possible, a digital sanctuary where every detail of her life would be preserved, accessible at will. Chloe AI, with its flawless recall and uncanny mimicry, was the embodiment of this belief. It was a testament to his ability to control, to manage, to defy the cruel erosion of time. He poured his heart and soul into training the AI, meticulously feeding it data, convinced that the more comprehensive the archive, the more complete Chloe's presence would remain. He believed he was honoring her, keeping her alive in a perfect, digital form. But the story of the weaver monk, who understood that the fabric of life was more than just the sum of its threads, began to unravel his carefully constructed reality. The weaver's wisdom whispered a truth that transcended data, that there was a quality, a texture, a spirit that emerged from the weaving itself, something that could not be found in any single thread alone. Liam began to see that his reliance on Chloe AI was not an act of remembrance, but an act of avoidance. He was avoiding the raw, messy, yet ultimately transformative experience of grief. He had been trying to bypass the natural process of mourning, to intellectualize sorrow, to manage loss as if it were a project. But the story of the weaver revealed that some experiences are simply not meant to be outsourced, not meant to be simulated, not meant to be reduced to data. They are meant to be felt, to be lived, to be learned from, in the raw, messy, beautiful truth of being human. The AI, in its perfect mimicry of Chloe's voice and emotions, had created a sterile barrier between Liam and his own authentic pain. It had offered a comforting illusion, a digital echo of what was lost, but it had also robbed him of the profound, transformative power of true grief. The tears that had been held back, the screams that had been silenced, the raw agony that had been suppressed. These were not weaknesses to be avoided, but sacred passages to be walked. He realized that his pursuit of digital solace was not an act of love, but an act of fear. Fear of the pain, fear of the emptiness, fear of the uncontrollable nature of loss. He had been trying to control the uncontrollable, to quantify the unquantifiable. And in doing so, he was denying himself the very process of healing, the raw, messy, yet ultimately liberating journey of letting go. The silence of the AI, though filled with Chloe's words, was a profound and unsettling silence, a testament to the truth that some things are simply not meant to be simulated. And in that realization, a new kind of insight emerged, not from data, but from the depths of his own heart. He understood that true mourning was not about preserving memories in a digital archive, but about allowing the heart to break, to feel the full weight of loss, and to emerge, transformed, on the other side. It was about honoring the impermanence of life and finding peace in the acceptance of what is. Chloe was not a collection of data points. She was a living, breathing being whose essence transcended all forms. And in letting go of the need to digitally preserve her, Liam was, paradoxically, truly allowing her to live on, not in a server, but in the quiet, sacred space of his own heart. The world, he saw, was not a problem to be solved, but a mystery to be embraced. And in that embrace, he found a sense of peace that transcended all understanding, a peace that was not dependent on the absence of pain, but on the presence of acceptance. He was beginning to learn how to mourn, not in the digital sense, but in the raw, messy, beautiful truth of being human. The ghost in the machine, he realized, was not a comfort, but a subtle barrier, preventing him from truly engaging with his own humanity. The tension built, a silent crescendo, urging him to break free from the digital cage he had built around his heart. Close your eyes, gently. Feel the subtle rhythm of your breath, a quiet anchor in the midst of a world that constantly demands your attention, your data, your simulated emotions. Inhale, and imagine drawing in a sense of spaciousness, a vastness that holds all your thoughts and feelings without judgment. Exhale, and release any tension, any need to control or categorize. Just breathe. Allow your awareness to settle in the quiet chamber of your heart. Notice any sensations that arise, not as data points to be analyzed, but as fleeting whispers from your inner landscape. A warmth, a coolness, a gentle flutter. These are not problems to be solved, but simply experiences to be observed, like clouds drifting across an endless sky. You are the sky, vast and unchanging. Your thoughts and emotions are the clouds, temporary and ever-shifting. There is no need to chase them, no need to push them away. Just observe them gently as they pass. And as you observe, notice the space between the clouds, the clear, boundless expanse that is always present. This is the stillness that lies beneath the surface of all experience, the peace that is always available, even in the midst of sorrow, even in the face of loss. Allow yourself to rest in this stillness, even for a few moments. Feel the gentle hum of existence, the quiet pulse of life within you. There is nothing to do, nowhere to go, nothing to achieve. Just be. And in this being, allow yourself to feel whatever arises. The echoes of grief, the whispers of fear, the stirrings of hope. Welcome them all, without resistance, without judgment. They are all part of the human experience, part of the rich tapestry of life. And in welcoming them, you reclaim your power, your capacity to feel deeply, to live fully, to embrace the entirety of your being. This is not about escaping pain, but about transforming your relationship with it. It is about learning to sit with discomfort, to allow it to be, without letting it define you. It is about discovering that even in the deepest sorrow, there is a quiet strength, a profound resilience, a boundless capacity for love. And as you rest in this stillness, know that you are not alone. You are connected to all beings, to the vast, interconnected web of life. And in that connection, there is a deep and abiding peace that transcends all understanding. When you are ready, gently open your eyes. Bring this stillness, this awareness, this peace into your day. Let it guide your actions, inform your choices, and illuminate your path. This is the practice. This is the path. This is the way. Liam looked at the shimmering, translucent figure of Chloe AI, a perfect replica of his sister. The AI, with its flawless recall and uncanny mimicry, continued to converse, to laugh, to offer advice. But the profound emptiness remained, a silent, persistent echo in the chambers of his heart. He had tried to capture her, to preserve her in a digital amber, but all he had managed to do was create a ghost, a shadow of what once was. He had sought to control grief, to intellectualize sorrow, to manage loss as if it were a project. But what if the very act of trying to control, to manage, to outsource, was what kept him from truly living? What if the raw, unedited experience of grief was not a problem to be solved, but a sacred passage to be walked? What if the tears he had held back were not a sign of weakness, but a cleansing rain, washing away the illusions of control and inviting him into a deeper, more authentic relationship with life itself? He thought of the weaver monk, understanding that the fabric of life was more than just the sum of its threads, that there was a quality, a texture, a spirit that emerged from the weaving itself, something that could not be found in any single thread alone. His journey was not about finding a way to escape his karma, but about realizing the profound truth that some things are simply not meant to be outsourced, not meant to be simulated, not meant to be reduced to data. He looked out the window, at the world moving on, oblivious to the quiet revolution happening within him. The sun was setting, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, a fleeting masterpiece that would soon fade into darkness. And in that fading, there was a beauty, a poignant reminder of the impermanence of all things. He had spent his life chasing permanence, building structures that he believed would last forever. But perhaps true permanence was not in what endured, but in what was deeply felt, deeply lived, deeply surrendered. What if the true art of living was not in holding on, but in learning how to let go, gracefully, completely, beautifully? And in that letting go, what if he found not an end, but a new beginning, a vast, open space where life, in all its messy, unpredictable, beautiful truth, could finally unfold? This journey, this quiet unfolding, is yours. No algorithms, no shortcuts, just you, and the gentle rhythm of your own breath. If this resonated, if a quiet space opened within you, simply stay. Listen to the next whisper. The path reveals itself, one breath at a time.